Hey guys, and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the bearish movement that has been happening on Bitcoin for the last week. We're going to be talking about the bullish setup that we would need to see the market reverse, and we're going to continue talking about why a price target of as low as about $105,000 is still in the cards. Are we about to break below $112,000, or is Bitcoin about to go into a major rally? That's what we're going to be discussing right now, so let's get started. Over the last few days, Bitcoin has been in a very serious downtrend ever since a 5-minute inverse head and shoulders pattern, regular head and shoulders pattern, formed as we broke up here to $124,500. If you guys will remember in the Discord server, we were in a trade right here and we managed to exit right here at the very top because I saw this head and shoulders pattern forming. But what we didn't really expect was Bitcoin to drop this far, this fast. I want to kind of go over a few of the reasons why Bitcoin dropped here. The first thing that happened was that we saw PPI come out. PPI is something called the Producer Price Index, and this is information that shows inflation based on the producers. So this is inflation on the side of the actual manufacturers of goods and services in the United States economy. This number came out significantly higher than was forecasted, and then we also, of course, had this CME futures gap that was sitting right down here at about $117,000 to about $118,000. So Bitcoin very quickly fell over following this massive rally that we witnessed from 112 to 124. It was a great rally, and obviously there needed to be a reckoning for that. But then something else happened. Just a few days ago, right around here, we saw MicroStrategy, or I suppose Strategy, release new guidance on whether or not they would be issuing debt to buy more Bitcoin based on their NAV, the market versus native asset value for the Strategy stock. And essentially, this gave investors a great deal of concern that Strategy was done acquiring Bitcoin in the short term because it has basically found itself in a position where it does not want to take out any more leverage. This was a very large bearish catalyst that drove Bitcoin even farther to the downside. So we were already down, and then we got hit while we were down, and Bitcoin fell even further out of this 117 to 118 range. In doing so, Bitcoin built this very steep downtrending level of resistance right here, and Bitcoin staying beneath this downtrending level of resistance has meant that Bitcoin is in a very strong downtrend. Now, 2 days ago, on Tuesday, August the 19th, I made a call that said if we do not return above $115,000 within 3 days, then Bitcoin will revisit the support zone of between $100,000 and $105,000. We now have about 24 hours until that call kicks into play, and I'm starting to be concerned that that is the correct call. Here's part of the reason. We did finally see a bullish break above this downtrending action line, and we did, in fact, turn it into support. The problem is, after Bitcoin broke this downtrend, we almost immediately stopped all bullish action after rejecting off of the resistance here at $114,700. This was supposed to be support. We had a very nice amount of support here. We fell beneath it back down to 112. And then once Bitcoin rallied here and set this previous support, turned it into current resistance, that shows us that we have lower highs and lower lows forming, and even though we broke this downtrending level of resistance, it doesn't really mean much because we are just continuing the downtrend now, just sitting on top of it. So this is not the kind of confirmed breakout above this bearish action line that we would use to go into a long. I have not entered into a long. I have not given any signals to the first cohort to enter into a long trade, and I will not be doing so until we get a better breakout confirmation than this. This is exactly the opposite of what I was talking about when I said we wanted a high volume, high confidence breakout above that downtrending level of resistance. We broke out above it, and we've been hugging it ever since. Bitcoin is showing extreme weakness. It is not showing bullishness, and with how much weakness we are showing right here around the ranging market bottom at 112, it leads us to the conclusion that Bitcoin may be in position to break south here below 112. Until we have some kind of strong bounce off of 112, we cannot say with confidence that it's going to hold. If you'll recall, when we hit 112, we ran straight into it and we bounced in a very aggressive way off of it. Within approximately 36 hours of hitting 112, Bitcoin had rallied $3,500. In this case, Bitcoin didn't quite hit 112. We dropped down to about 112.3, but more or less it's the same thing. And instead of rallying $3,000 and continuing the rally, instead of doing that, Bitcoin rallied $2,500 and then immediately fell right back over. The fact that we have not gotten a strong bounce at this point indicates that $112,000 is becoming more likely to break than it was. And that does kind of make sense. Bitcoin did more or less double top up here around 123,000. If you look at the 3-daily chart, we have some very long upper wicks here, or even the weekly chart, we have some very long upper wicks here based on these big rallies that just didn't last that long. And so it does leave us with this concern that we had an uptrend here, and so we might end up having a downtrend here. Oftentimes what you'll see happen when a market is a bit confused, to be quite honest, is you'll have something like a broadening triangle, right? You'll have the market will rally, and then it'll do something like this. Right? You have this uptrend of resistance and this downtrend. This is a broadening channel, more or less. And this is, in a sense, a continuation pattern. As we've talked about, Bitcoin is not likely to go into a bear market right now as a result of the fact that Q4 of the post-halving year is upon us. It is highly likely that we're going to have an extremely bullish October, November, and December. It's highly likely that Bitcoin will rally to at least $150,000 this year. That said, the next few days to the next few weeks, we cannot be as confident about because Bitcoin is showing extreme weakness down here on the hourly chart. So if Bitcoin breaks 112, now zooming out to the slightly longer term, what happens? Well, one of the main things that we need to discuss here is whether or not Bitcoin is going to be able to hold that support zone between about 109 and 112. And I'm not quite sure, because as it stands, Bitcoin has broken through several important levels of support. We've broken through this uptrending level of support right here. We've now broken through this uptrending level of support, which is the midline for the entire bull market, as you can see. And then we also have broken through a few other moving averages. For example, here, if you look down on the 4-hourly chart, we've broken through most of our moving averages. We're trying to get caught on the 400 4-hourly simple moving average, but it's not really that, we're not really that sure whether or not it's going to hold. If it does hold, then this is more of a smaller correction like what we saw back here down to 100. If it does not hold, then we're more so looking at this larger style correction that we saw from 109 down to 74,000. This is really the make or break point. Can we hold the 400 4-hourly simple moving average, as we did here? We originally held the 300, then we held the 400. We originally held the 300, and now we're trying to hold the 400. Can we hold it? Because if not, we are likely not seeing this kind of correction, which is basically just sideways consolidation. We're likely seeing this kind of correction, which is a little, almost miniature bear market. It could last a month, right? 45 days. This is not a proper 70% dip bear market, but this could be a 20 to 25% drop off of the highs. For example, back here, we dropped from 109, 32% down to 74. If we were to drop 30% again, that'd be a drop down to $88,000. I don't quite think that's going to happen because we have not rallied enough to really warrant a 30% drop, but a drop of 20% from $124,000 down here to approximately $98,000 to $100,000 is absolutely possible if 112 fails. So, for my traders, for my investors, the both of you, all eyes right now are on 112. Can we get some more bullish strength here and come away from 112? Because if not, if we start closing hourly candlesticks below 112, most likely we're going to revisit best case scenario, 109,000, worst case scenario, $100,000 per coin on Bitcoin. Now, that said, there is an enormous amount of support down here, and I do not believe that this would be the beginning of any kind of bear market because there's just too much going on in the fundamentals to warrant a bear market right now. This is a largely technical-driven corrective movement. It is not predominantly a fundamental-driven movement. Everybody's going to forget about what strategy posted. Strategy is just fine. Nobody needs to worry about them. They're not going to sell Bitcoin. The entire machine would implode if they did. BlackRock is going to continue acquiring Bitcoin. Wall Street's going to continue acquiring Bitcoin. Strategy very soon is going to be listed on the NASDAQ, in the S&P 500, which is going to lead to a massive amount of inflows, increasing their stock price, correcting the NAV, which will allow them to continue acquiring Bitcoin at an even more rapid clip. Everything is fine fundamentally, but technically driven, we could be looking, as I said, at a drop down to $100,000 to $105,000. And specifically, I'm really eyeing this moving average. This is the 300 daily moving average right here, this gray line, and it represents the level of support that we have dropped down to several times over the course of this bull market. We dropped down to it right here in August and September of 2024. We dropped down to it right here around March the 10th of 2025, and then again here around April the 10th of 2025. Again, it currently stands at $98,000. If we were to forward extrapolate it, then we could very reasonably guess that here in, I don't know, let's say a month, about halfway through September, it might be sitting up at approximately $102,000. I believe that this market and this moving average are on a collision course, and I think that you're going to see Bitcoin drop back down to test 109. If 109 fails, then you're probably going to see a back test down to 105, and then you might see a wick, probably not even a daily candle, but a wick down to this moving average. And from that point in time, institutions are going to go wild buying Bitcoin because $100,000 Bitcoin is a fantastic fantastic price to accumulate Bitcoin in the short to medium term. So that's where I think we're going, and that's why I think we're going there. We've had quite a few bearish catalysts in the fundamentals that have driven Bitcoin down in the short term, although those are not long-term bearish catalysts. Again, PPI, everybody's already forgotten about it. For example, the CME futures gap. The CME futures gap has been now filled. As far as strategy's NAV guidance is not going to be relevant relatively soon because the stock price is going down while they're about to enter into the S&P 500. They're going to have billions of dollars of inflows coming into the stock every quarter just from inclusion in the S&P 500. And so when you see that occurring, the stock price is naturally going to increase because of the amount of buy-side pressure from the retail markets. You're going to see for the first time Bitcoin in the S&P 500 through the treasury of strategy. And you're also going to see that drive the stock price up, allowing strategy to acquire more debt, issue more convertible notes to acquire more Bitcoin. And strategy will continue being on its way to 1 million Bitcoin. They're going to reach 1 Nakamoto probably at some point next year with the clip that they're going. Worst case scenario, probably 2027. These are all short-term concerns that people that do not understand the long-term cycles of Bitcoin are freaked out about. I am not freaked out about a bear market right now. There's absolutely no technical or fundamental justification for Bitcoin to go into a bear market right now. Should one happen, it would be a blind side because we have no data whatsoever pointing in that direction. That said, there is, as we've been discussing all week, a very strong case that if Bitcoin cannot hold $112,000, then a drop down to 100 to 105 would likely occur. I am going to modify my prediction ever so slightly, but it's basically just a refinement. Our original prediction on Tuesday, which was 2 days ago, was that if Bitcoin cannot close above $115,000 within 3 days and get back up there with strength, that we're going to go down to $100 to $105,000. I'm going to say if we break below $112,000 and we can't get back up above it on the 4-hourly chart, then we're going to go down to 100 to 105. The only reason I'm saying that is because there is a scenario where Bitcoin could just hug here between $112,000 and $115,000, and I wouldn't want to make the wrong call because of that. So basically, they're the same call, but what I want to keep you aware of is that if 112 fails, that means we're not having one of these little small corrections. We're having a bigger correction, like what we saw back over here in Q1 and Q2 of the Bitcoin bull market of this year, and then that will likely lead us to excellent buying opportunities. By the way, one final point, I don't think that this correction that I'm discussing will be 33% deep. The main reason that we saw this size of a correction, 33% deep, was because the United States S&P 500 was going through a massive crash at the same time. You can see this is the crash that was going on right here. Right, so we don't have that going on in S&P 500. So that kind of makes the predicted correction that we might see here on Bitcoin a little bit smaller. Instead of seeing a 33% drop, we would more likely see something like a 20 to a 25% drop. That smaller drop actually indicates that we're getting closer to a parabolic top because it means that the bulls are even stronger than ever. So all of this to say, the Bitcoin bulls are extremely strong. The Bitcoin bears are extremely weak. But in the short term, people are taking profits. People are afraid because they think that the bottom might be lower than 112. And so if you're looking to long this market, I would wait for the market to go lower or wait for Bitcoin to go higher to give you more confirmations of an uptrend. Right now, we are in a confirmed downtrend, and we should remember that the trend is our friend until it ends. The downtrend that Bitcoin finds itself in right now is not over, so you should be looking for short trades right now. And by the way, if you guys don't already know, over in the first cohort trading group, there are a ton of people making a lot of money right now. And a lot of them are making a lot of money on shorts. I'll show you some of their winning trades here in just a second. But if you want to join the first cohort and trade alongside myself and trade alongside everyone else who is succeeding right now, for example, this person, D-Rock over here, 50x short on Cardano. In about an hour, he made 87%. Entry at 89 cents, exit at 87 cents. If you want to come learn from myself and the hundreds of traders that we have over in the first cohort that will help you to learn technical analysis, trading, investment, financial sovereignty, and generally how to succeed in the cryptocurrency space, then I'm going to tell you how to get into the first cohort for free for a year. All you have to do is go sign up for 2Bit, which is our exchange partner. This is the exchange that we do all of our trading on. Absolutely fantastic. I don't just promote 2Bit because they're an affiliate of the channel. I promote 2Bit because it's a great exchange. It's where I do my trading. I do all of my trading on 2Bit. Their mobile interface is fantastic. Anybody who's ever used 2Bit can tell you that the mobile interface is second to none. It is so easy to be walking around, doing something, pull out your phone, check how a trade's doing, look at the P&Ls, do some technical analysis on your phone. It's very, very, very simple if you're away from your trading desk to do what you need to do on 2bit. And if you sign up for 2bit and deposit $100, you're going to get $30 for free instantly. They're going to give you $30 just for depositing $100. But if you register, you're also going to get $50. So you just turned $100 into $180. But if you trade $1,000 of perps over on 2bit, you will also double this. So just by depositing $100 and doing $1,000 of trading volume in perpetual futures, you just turned $100 into $230. But wait, there's more. Who remembers that? If you email malakipats@cryptojeb.com, M-A-L-A-K-I Pats at cryptojeb.com, links in the description box down below, and you email him a screenshot of your $100 deposit, then he will respond by giving you a 1-year free coupon code to the First Cohort Discord server. You'll sign up through Teachable, and when you sign up through Teachable, you will find the invite code to the First Cohort Discord server, and you can join our trading group over here who is constantly talking about different trades. A lot of amazing interactions going on over here. A lot of trades that are being posted. Ton of technical analysis that's going on. So if you want to come and join us in our trading and generating wealth in the cryptocurrency space, and also getting access to me when I'm away, like I can post in the Discord server in 3 seconds. It takes me a couple of hours to produce one of these videos. So if you want up-to-date content, make sure to sign up for the First Cohort. By the way, one other thing to mention, if you're in the First Cohort, you get these videos for free. For example, yesterday's video went out in the First Cohort at 12:37. It goes out at 2 p.m. Eastern on YouTube. For example, back on Monday, our video went out at 1:05 p.m. here in the First Cohort. It went out on YouTube at 2 p.m. Here, our video went out at 11:22 a.m., almost 3 hours before it went out on YouTube. So if you want these videos early, then signing up for 2bit and joining the First Cohort for free, cost you nothing, you will get access to these videos sometimes up to 3 hours before YouTube does. So if you have not already, make sure to sign up for 2bit with the link in the description box down below. Make sure to use that sign up to get into the First Cohort, and let's start trading together. I love you so much. Be very careful about the corrections that can come. And if we do drop down to 100 to 105, be ready, because those are going to be some world-class investment and trade entries that we will be watching together. If you enjoyed today's video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and before I go, I do just first want to thank each and every single last one of you for watching, as always, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.